Tienne and Laura Eisenberg, and we're just so grateful for all that you both do to serve families in the Northeast Ohio area and beyond sometimes. And so I just want to take a minute to ask each one of you your heart and your why, what led you to serve in this ministry. And so, Tien, if you don't mind sharing first, since you're sort of our veteran and have been here so long, if you want to share a little bit of your heart and why and what led you to serve at SGM.
Um, I'm Tienne Wilkin, and I started serving with Sufficient Grace in 2014, I think. Um, Part of my desire was for that other people wouldn't experience their miscarriages the same way that I had experienced them. And the doctor just said, go home and, it'll just pass and it'll be a hard period. It won't be a big, but the idea that like I could talk to somebody and say, nope, it's going to be like labor and you could very well um, pass something that's recognizable. And then even the idea that to take the time to look at and spend time with that little tiny body that I didn't get to do because I felt like I was being weird and stuff. And so I wanted to be able to be that person for somebody else. And right about that time, in 2014, my friend was becoming a doula. And I said, I don't think I'd like to be a doula unless it was specifically for someone who was delivering a baby that had either passed already or that would pass quickly. I want to be that person. And within 24 hours, God had introduced me to Sufficient Grace Ministries, and the rest is history. Always, when I was little, I used to always play picture taker with my brothers and sisters. So I always had a fascination with photography, and God kind of brought those two things together, and the idea um, that I could be a part of the grieving process for families, but still be celebrating their uniqueness by taking their pictures and making them look like something that somebody could put up on their wall and be able to share their little life with others.
So, um, my background is in healthcare. I am a retired academic family physician. And as I was thinking about what I wanted the next stage of my career to look like, I said, gee, I have this background, I have these gifts and skills, and I'd like to use them to make a difference for people and families, because that's where my heart has always been, but in a different way. And Sufficient Grace came across my inbox, and I saw the work that you do, and I thought, I'm familiar with labor and delivery, and I know how hard it is for the medical professionals, how tight their schedules are, and how hard it is to spend the time that families might need to process the loss that they've experienced. And I thought, I think I can do this. And I hope I change the story and help some of these families.
Think absolutely you do, and we're so grateful for you, for Tien, for all of our amazing volunteers. Absolutely. It's always so touching to read some of the testimonies of the families you serve and to hear how it does change the story for them. So, Laura, what is your favorite part about serving families?
Um, there are lots of favorite parts. I really like when I really enjoy making the connections with our families. We have a lot of wonderful resources and uh, things that SGM provides for us, canvases that we put handprints and footprints on, and resources like books that we can talk with families about. And all of those are wonderful things, but it's that connection. It's that being able to have that conversation about, tell me about your little one. Tell me about the dreams you had for your little one, and being able to really listen in those visits. That is so, that's, um, I always feel so honored when families open up.
It is really incredible that that never gets less awe-inspiring, the fact that they allow us into such a sacred space of raw grief, these families, and what a privilege, a humbling privilege that is to get to even just sit with them in it. Um, Tien, what is your favorite part about serving families?
Um, it just, the one thing just went out of my head. There was two things that I was going to say, but the one thing that I always um, look for, or the thing that I find the most rewarding, is when I'm able to see a family smile during that time, because I always make it my goal to try and catch that on camera, because I want them to see that there was joy in that room, even though there was a lot of sorrow. And just to catch that little bit of, hey, my kid did have their daddy's nose, or this is a, I'm enjoying doing something for my baby, giving them a bath or taking their hand and footprints or whatever. Like, there was joy in that, and I just always find that um, that's, I guess, my favorite part. I can't remember the other thing I was going to say. It was something up along Laura was talking about. Oh, I always say to families that I always feel very privileged that I get to meet a baby that there's a whole lot of people in the world are never going to meet. Whereas when you take home a live baby, they're gonna meet all kinds of people, and they're gonna interact with all kinds of people throughout their life. And to think that in the limited time that this one's here, I get to be part of their life. And so I just feel like that's such an amazing thing.
So, what are, do either one of you have a memorable story? I know you probably have many, but one that you would like to share without giving identifying information, just a family that really sticks with you, or a favorite example. Just, and I'm sure there's more than one, but if there's something that's coming to mind. Do you have one, Laura? Oh, sorry, Tian, were you ready to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I remember a family that when I walked into the room, the baby was laying in the comfort cot, um, and they hadn't really done anything with the baby except look at it, maybe. And I, started talking to them a little bit about things, and they just kept saying, "Oh, but she's so fragile, and I don't want to touch her." And I was like, "Well, would it be okay if I picked her up?" And just watching them change once I started doing things, and they're like, oh wow, like, she's not as fragile, she's not untouchable. And being able to watch the change, that then they were, able to pass that on to their other, people would come in and visit, and they were able to share with them, their family, their baby, instead of me being the person, holding them, um, and that kind of thing. And I'm going to jump in one more thing. The one other thing that I always think of is a family that way back in the beginning, that the mom was like, I can't walk out of here without my baby, but I can't be the one that hands him to the funeral home. And so she asked me to sit in the nursery with her son until the funeral home was able to come. And even just the watching her walk out of the room was so hard. But I felt so privileged to be the person that got to sit and rock him until the funeral home came, and and place him in, hand him over. in us. And it was just, and I've done that for several families. I just feel like that's such a privilege to be that person that is that connection for them, that they don't have to do it themselves if that's not something that they feel ready to do.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Laura?
There are lots of families that are kind of going through my mind right now. I think the couple calls that I uh, think of the most are the calls where I am with the um, family, the mom and the dad, but they bring the siblings in also. And it's their opportunity to get a picture of all of their children together and have the siblings meet um, the baby. Um, and that is always a beautiful experience. But I also love the opportunity to connect with the kids because I can't imagine. I think that would have the potential to be an overwhelming experience for a 5-year old or a 6-year old, even some of the teenagers that we meet. And it is a joy to be able to connect with the siblings and help them process that experience and support the parents, seeing that their other siblings or their other children are going to be okay too.
Absolutely. I feel like there's such an opportunity to learn from the children too. It always blesses me to see as difficult and impactful as this moment is for those children, to also see through their eyes and their acceptance of things that adults sometimes
Mm-hmm.
wrestle deeply with. Children have a refreshing view of what really matters sometimes in those moments as well. And it's a huge privilege to be able to be a light and somebody who can help ease some of that overwhelmingness for them.